With a new identity, James Logan Howlett begins his new life as a quarry worker. As James passes by, keeping to his work, two of his co-workers accuse the camp cook, Cookie Malone, of shorting their portions of food, and they start a fight between them. After taking a beating, Cookie watches James lose control of his wheelbarrow and extends a hand to help him, only to mockingly let the cart loose, letting all the rocks on the cart fall off. Furious, James returns to his cabin and lies down on his bed in silence. Rose, worried, apologizes for bringing him here, but reminds him the importance of not letting their identity be known. Rose writes in her diary on the fact that James doesn't talk to anyone, and every time she tries to talk to him about what happened, he pushes her away. He seems distant, as if he's trying to understand what happened to him, but at the same time repressing those memories. She writes about their life on the camp, on how James wakes every day before dawn to take barrow duties, and her work in the office, organizing the giant mess that has become of the place. One night, Cookie teases James with some food. Innocently, the boy accepts the teasing offer and takes a beating from the cook, but is interrupted by Smitty, who demands Cookie Malone to stop. The cook immediately excuses himself from the situation, and they all go their own way. It's their second summer at the camp, and Rose bathes naked in a lake nearby, while James, in the woods, pursues his prey. Cookie catches a glimpse of Rose drying herself, but is exposed by a broken twig, alerting Rose to the presence of someone spying on her. She turns in the direction of the sound, only to see James approaching her with a dead deer in his hands. Rose is glad he managed to hunt that deer, since Cookie has been shorting out their rations. James asks her not to let Cookie know about his hunting, fearing for his life. Later, James gets the deer, while Rose hangs some laundry. She confronts James on how he has changed, and he asks her to call him Logan, the name she gave him for his protection. She's amazed how a boy so frail has become a man of the forest, a hunter, and he supposes that this is the way he was always meant to be. She asks him where he learned all these skills, but he doesn't really know how to answer, despite only having the urge to hunt. Rose takes this opportunity to try and talk with him about what happened in Alberta years before, but is immediately dismissed by him, telling her that there is no life before they came here, and that he isn't that person anymore. Rose writes in her diary, but this time directed at Logan, since she can't bear to make him suffer over this issue anymore. She writes on how remarkably he has grown since they both came here, how he has become kind and hard-working much like his father, and how he burns with a desire to be someone other than himself. She hopes he consents to read this diary one day, since she won't be able to live with herself until he learns the truth of what happened. As Logan walks by near the kitchen, Cookie hears some woman comment on how Logan offered the side of deer to someone in the camp. With jealousy, Cookie squares off with Logan. Telling him he wants no trouble, Logan tries to walk away. Some of the workers nearby tell the cook to leave the boy alone, and Cookie accuses Logan of stealing food, proceeding to beat him up. Logan feels his rage building up, but before he can do anything, Smitty rescues him from the beating. With all this built-up rage, Logan runs into the woods, where he finds himself quickly surrounded by a pack of wolves. Logan unleashes his claws and stares down the alpha, but succumbs to his weakened body, finding himself accepted as a kindred spirit amongst the wolves. A few years have passed, and Logan spends his time hunting with the local wolf pack. In Logan's cabin, Rose and Smitty wait for Logan, reading some books that Smitty brought for them. As Rose and Smitty get close to each other, Logan arrives, interrupting the moment. Smitty tells Logan to come meet him in the morning for a new job. The next day, as requested, Logan meets with Smitty, and he assigns Logan as the new dynamite handler, since Logan is the only one with the smarts needed for this job. Smitty shows him one explosion and they both laugh after running for their lives. Later, Cookie and two other workers play cards, and as they see Logan and Smitty approach, the workers compliment Logan on how he carries himself and how he works like a Wolverine, much to the distaste of Cookie. Rose writes in her diary on how Logan finally is at ease here in the camp. These people are his family now, and they even call him Little Smitty. She writes on how proud she is of him for being so respected by everyone. A leader by example, much like his father. But there's a side of him that remains a mystery. He spends days in the mountains, he goes there to be his other self, the one he keeps hidden since that night in the Howlett estate. One night, Cookie sneaks off and shortens some fuses on the dynamite in hopes to get rid of Logan, since the cook sees Logan as stealing all of his friends away from him. Later, Smitty compliments Rose on the job she's been doing in the office, because of the profit they have been turning in since she took over. They are interrupted by a worker who comes to alert Smitty of a cave-in that happened. The cave-in was due to the mistimed explosives, and Smitty doesn't allow himself any rest until he sees all his workers safe. Logan is one of the people trapped in the rubble, but even though several men die, Logan is eventually found below the rubble, protecting a boy from the rocks. The next day, Smitty praises Logan for what he did last night, and gives him a manuscript from Japan that he picked up on one of his many travels as a former sailor, and explains that it is about the samurai fighters and their strength, the same strength he sees in Logan. Smitty whispers only for Logan to hear him, telling him that he should have died last night, and whatever it is about him, he's not gonna pry and doesn't make any difference to him. That evening, Logan discovers Cookie plundering through the cabin of one of the recently killed miners. Logan finally unleashes his pent-up fury and beats the cook until he promises to admit what he has done. Logan warns Cookie that if he shows up at the mine again, he's a dead man, and runs to tell Rose what happened, but through the window, he sees Rose and Smitty kissing. With desperation, Logan runs away into the woods, and comes face to face with the alpha of the wolf pack. He unleashes his claws and fights the wolf until it surrenders. Logan is surrounded by the other wolves, and is greeted as the new alpha. In the Howlett estate, the bedridden old man regrets letting James go. He speaks to a figure in the shadows, beseeching him to find his grandson. The shadowy figure is Dog, now an adult, and sporting the scars from James's claws on his face, promising to hunt James down to the ends of the earth. A hooded figure approaches a local trapper, questioning him about James Howlett. The man doesn't know anyone with that name, but points him to a quarry to the south, where there's a man named Logan, living with a red-headed woman. He kills the trapper and proceeds with the hunt. In the meantime, Rose approaches Logan, trying to talk with him about what's bothering him. He tells her he always thought they would end up together, but she tells him she can't, since she's going to marry Smitty and they are leaving to the city to start a life together. Rose offers for him to come with them, but he instantly refuses, feeling betrayed by Rose. Meanwhile, as Smitty is trying to sell off some possessions, he hears an announcer asking for people to participate in a fighting tournament, with a prize of $200. A hooded figure asks Smitty if he's thinking of signing up, and Smitty tells him he's considering it, since he's trying to raise money to live for the city with his girl. The mysterious man asks him his girl's name, and Smitty tells him her name is Rose. At the same time, Logan enters the pub, and learns from his colleagues about the tournament, as he sees Logan signing up for it. At Rose's cabin, Smitty tells her about the tournament, and she discourages him from participating. He tells her that it will be easy money, and they wouldn't need to sell any of their possessions. She asks him if Logan is fighting too. Smitty doesn't know, but assures her that if he has to fight him, he won't hurt him. But Rose is not worried about Logan. Smitty, incredulous, assures her that he is more than a match for the boy, but Rose warns him that Logan has a dark side he doesn't know about, and that if he wanted to kill him, he would do it in a second. Logan and Smitty win fight after fight, climbing in the tournament. Logan gets an opportunity to fight Cookie Malone, and before Cookie makes his way to the cage, he is approached by the hooded man that gives him some brass knuckles to improve his odds. Cookie has some success, but as the cheers for Wolverine comes from the crowd, Logan gains the upper hand and beats Cookie with his fists, making him beg for his life. The final fight is between Logan and Smitty, and Logan, angry at Smitty for stealing his cousin from him, unleashes his fury. Smitty knows she's not his cousin and tells Logan that if he really loves her, he should do what is right. Logan acquiesces, and ultimately takes a dive for Smitty. Leaving the pub with his prize, Smitty approaches Logan to ask him if he's okay. Logan tells him that he will always love Rose, and warns him that if he ever hurts her, he will come for him. Smitty names Logan as the new foreman of the quarry and bids him farewell. Logan is suddenly attacked by a wooded figure, calling him by his birth name. This figure is Doc, and he intends to kill Logan. At the cabin, Smitty tells Rose of what happened at the fights, and Rose runs out to find Logan to see if he's okay. Doc beats up Logan, and Logan doesn't recognize him. Doc tries to make him remember, telling him about how he killed his puppy Kelly in front of him when they were kids, and how his mother killed herself because of him. Rose approaches the commotion, and with shock, she recognizes Doc. Doc tells Logan how he was the one who killed his father, only for him and Rose to take the blame. But before he deals the killing blow, Logan fights back, remembering all that happened in the past. He unleashes his claws to everyone's bewilderment and strikes at Doc, but at the last moment, Rose intervenes. And Logan accidentally impales her with his claws. She bleeds out, regretting not telling Logan everything before her last breath. Sometime later, Smitty runs through the mountains, shouting for Logan to come back to him, so they can grieve together. Logan hides, not wanting to show himself to anyone, but at the sight of his wolf pack, he runs to be with the wolves. At Rose's cabin, Cookie, in a final act of treachery, runs through her belongings, looking for something valuable to take. He comes across her diary, written to Logan, and without any thought, he drops it on the fire.